Work it, make it, do it. Makes us harder, better, faster, stronger. Work it harder, make it better, do it faster. Makes us stronger, more than ever. Hour after hour, work is never over. Work it harder, make it better.
Hello and welcome to the Book Smoke. So today I was thinking I want to do a video for you, but I'm not sure what to do. So what I am going to do is show you. I realised that I read quite a few books that maybe haven't had so much hype and aren't as well known as others. So I'm going to show you them today and talk a little bit about them. I believe there are 10 books here, so I'm just going to get started. So the first book I want to talk about, even though this had a lot of hype when it first came out, I kind of didn't really see anything about it afterwards, and I haven't since really. So I don't know, that may be me, but and that book is After the End by Amy Plum. This is a really good book. It's about a girl called Juno, and she grows up in this society believing that World War III happened and that the whole rest of the world is dead. And then she kind of goes looking for her father after he goes hunting and he can't be found again. And she kind of discovers Manhattan, and it's, you know, in present day, and it's thriving, and there's nothing wrong with it. And she's basically, throughout the whole book, she's trying to figure out why she's been lied to and stuff like that. And it's a really good book. It mixes like magical realism with fantasy and a really interesting magic system. And yeah, it's a very good book, and it's not too big. And I still need to pick up the sequel, Until the Beginning, I think it's called, which is all obviously out now. But yeah, this is a really good book. Okay, the next book I'm going to talk about is Ophelia and the Marvellous Boy by Karen Foxley. This is a more recent read, and it's very short, which is a good thing. But it's basically a modern fairy tale. And it's about this girl called Ophelia Jane Worthington Whittard, who lives in this land where it's constantly snowing, it's constantly winter. The queen of the land is evil, and she has kind of put a spell on the land so that it's always snowing and always winter. And there's this massive museum that Ophelia's dad... Is that Ophelia? No, sorry, that's Ophelia. Ophelia's dad takes a job in this kingdom where the evil queen rules, and the owner of the museum tells Ophelia's dad that like there's this big exhibition coming up and they're getting the museum ready for it, when really, spoiler alert, when really they're getting ready for the end of the world. And Ophelia finds this magical boy locked in a room in this museum, and they go on a quest to stop the queen and restore peace and normality to this kingdom. And it's a really good book. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Okay, the next book I have, I think most people have probably heard of this book, but maybe not a lot of people have read it. And this is The Bunker Diary by Kevin Brooks. I picked this one up because my friend Charlie from Duvet Day Devours, one of her favourite authors is Kevin Brooks, and I think it was her review of this that I saw which made me want to pick it up, so I did, and it's brilliant. It's about a guy called... Sorry, I read it a little while ago, so I'm not sure of his name. Let me just find it. Okay, I don't actually know his name, but it's a guy who ends up in this building. He kind of gets kidnapped and ends up in this building with loads of other people who have also been kidnapped by the same person, they think. And it's basically just their relationships building and then breaking down, and then the horrible things that happen when they're in this environment and there's no way out. And it's just really interesting, really intense, really emotional, and it's a very, very good book. And I really, really do need to pick up more Kevin Brooks because this is highly recommended, and Charlie made me want to pick up more Kevin Brooks because I love this. Okay, next book I have, again, it's another one that people have probably heard of, but maybe excuse me, Gosh, that was a big sneeze. It's another one that people have probably heard of, but many people may not have read. And this is Linked by Imogen Howson. It's quite a beast. But I haven't finished reading this, but it's basically a really good science fiction about this girl who lives in the future, and it's like a case of mistaken identity, and then something happens and she has to run, and then the government get involved, and it just becomes this whole crazy power struggle and survival story, and going on the run story, and it's so good. And she has to change her identity and everything. It's very fast paced. The world building is incredible, and I really, really want to get on and finish reading this at some point, because the sequel is also out. I've forgotten what it's called, but it also has a gorgeous cover like this one. So I really want to get to that. But yeah, this is a very, very good science fiction book. My books just fell. Yes, the next book I'm going to talk about is Shaking Hands with Death by Terry Pratchett. You will have seen me review this recently. It's a very short book. It's basically a speech that Terry Pratchett gave at the Richard Dimbleby lecture in 2010, giving his opinion on assisted death/suicide, and coming to terms with the fact that he has a very rare form of Alzheimer's, and it's just brilliant. It's not very long. I just think it's really important for anyone to read, whether you know people with Alzheimer's or you don't. It's very inspiring, and it took me about an hour and a half to read this because the writing is dense, but don't let that put you off. It's also whimsical, funny, heartening, and ultimately informative and brilliantly written. And yeah, it's just really good. You can check out my review. It's I did it I think about a week ago, but yes, I really enjoyed this one. Okay, the next book I'm going to talk about, if you watch my channel for a while, you'll know that I love this author, and in particular, this book is the one I'm recommending. It is Reasons to Stay Alive by Matt Haig, and it's about the author's struggles with anxiety and depression, and how even though he tried to commit suicide a few times, there is a trigger warning for suicide and self-harm, and addiction. But even through all that, he managed to realise that there are reasons to stay alive, and that he can beat the depression and anxiety, and it's just amazing. It's a little over just under 300 pages, and it's a really quick read, and it's brilliant. And I will forever love Matt Haig. Okay, the next book I'm going to talk about is Heaven by Christoph Marcy. Now, I read this a long time ago, and it was amazing. It's about a girl called Heaven who is found on the rooftops of Paris, I believe. I can't remember, but she's found on the rooftops, and basically her heart has been cut out, but she's still alive, and the guy who finds her on the rooftops goes with her on a quest to find out who these bad guys are and why they want her heart, and why she's still alive with no heart, and it's brilliant, and it's quite a beast. It's just over 400 pages, but it is amazing. And that one came, I think I saw a review on my friend James's channel, N Reluctant. I think that's where I first got the inspiration to pick that one up. The next book I'm going to talk about is The Melancholy Death of Oyster Boy and Other Stories by Tim Burton. You'll know Tim Burton as a director, and from his work with Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter, who is his wife. But he's also an artist and a poet and a really, really inspirational person. And this is just a collection of beautiful artwork accompanying his beautiful poetry, all written and illustrated by Tim Burton. And it's just amazing. I read this whole thing in, I don't know, maybe an hour. And there is a review on my channel, but it was quite a while ago, so it's up to you whether you want to go find it, but I really, really, really loved this. And I wasn't expecting to. Okay, two more books left. The next one is The Hunting Ground by Cliff McNish. I don't talk about this author very much or this book, but this was the first kind of ghost story that I read that really scared me. Um, it's about a boy called Elliot and his brother Ben, and they move into a house called Glebe House, and basically there are ghosts living there, and there's this one ghost who like takes people out on the field and does horrible things to them and kills them, and it's just really good. And it's, like I said, it's the first kind of ghost story, paranormal story that really actually scared me. Like, it genuinely did. I can't really explain how, but you would need to read it to find out, but it is brilliant. And the last book I'm going to talk about is Meta Wars Fight for the Future by Jeff Norton. If you follow me for a while, you'll know that I love this book. I have talked about it before. It's a sci-fi about a boy called Jonah Delacroix, and he kind of lives in this sci-fi world, which is ruled by shape-shifting objects and human forms, and he basically goes on a mission to save this world, and he has to go to and protect each four corners of this world, and it's just brilliant, and I can't recommend it highly enough, especially if you like sci-fi. This is quite dense sci-fi, but it's brilliant. Okay, so that's it for this video today. Sorry about this light that's been going on here, it's really annoying, but I hope it didn't affect your enjoyment of this video too much. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I mentioned down below, and yeah, because I don't really know of many people who have actually read some of those books, so it'd be interesting to see if anyone has, and your thoughts on them. So yeah, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you wish, you may subscribe, and I will see you again soon.